Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Career Chat. I'm Krista Harmon, one of the Career Readiness Consultants for the Kent Intermediate School District. And I'm so glad to have you here during our Career Chat. And I want to welcome Eleanor Moreno. She is from Grandville Avenue Arts and Humanities. Welcome, Eleanor.
Thanks for having me.
So just to get us started, students love to hear how adults got to where they are. And, Eleanor, when you think back to when you were 15 or 16, did you think you'd grow up to be a director and now a COO of a iconic arts facility here in Grand Rapids? Tell us your path.
Yeah, nope, not even a little bit. My mom, single parent growing up, I'm the oldest of four, and she immigrated to the States from Mexico at around 12, 13 years old. And, unfortunate events, she didn't graduate high school and only has a ninth grade education. And so she was really like, you have to go to college, you have to complete high school, do these things that, I didn't get to do growing up. And, she was really adamant about, getting me and my siblings to at least finish high school. She's like, go finish high school, at least get that diploma. It's going to open up all of these different pathways for you. Don't work the factory jobs that I have to work, or the under the table jobs. And so I was like, all right, Mom, I'm gonna go to high school. I'm gonna get my diploma, and we'll see where it goes from there. I went to Creston, so I'm a polar bear. That still matters a lot to me, even though the school doesn't exist itself as Creston. I was seventh in my class. I thought I wanted to go to college, but I honestly was really unsure. What does college mean? I'd be the first in my family on both sides, from my mom and my dad's side. And it felt really, really scary to me to kind of think about like this whole other thing. I was really fortunate enough after I graduated high school that I met this amazing human who just kind of guided me and was like, you're so smart, you're reading all the time, you're doing all of these things, you're volunteering. And she helped me look at college applications, and she really got me excited about, what college could be. And so I went and tried a couple different schools in the community, and ended up at Calvin. And I thought I wanted to become a doctor. I had this crazy idea that I was like, I'm going to be Dr. Eleanor. How cool would that be one day? And chemistry kicked my butt, let's be honest here. And I was like, maybe I won't be a doctor. Maybe I'll be a chef. So I checked out CC's school, and that didn't work out for me either. There was just like all these things that there's just something about the college experience that was really difficult for me. Going to Calvin as a person of color was just, I didn't realize how different I was. I came back to my neighborhood. So I grew up in Roosevelt Park on the southwest side of Grand Rapids, and was talking to an old mentor, and she's like, hey, you should check out this job that's opening up on the other side of 131 at a food pantry. And I was like, all right, sure. I've never, had a formal job, and it turned out really, really well. And that was my first kind of stepping stone into kind of figuring out what I wanted to do, almost a little over 10 years ago. And so I worked at a food pantry for 5 years, just kind of experiencing different affinity groups. It felt like the first time in my life that I could like try a whole bunch of things and have a support system. So 10 years ago, working at a food pantry, never thought I'd end up at a food pantry. My family needed to use food pantries growing up. So it was a really interesting space to be a director there and give people food while also having gotten food as a kid through a system like that.
Yeah, so amazing story so far. I want to dig into a few things. So again, even as a young person, you were already volunteering. So this mentor, this amazing human being that you met, had already noticed. And so some of the other mentors have mentioned that it's so important to volunteer. What did you get from being a volunteer at that young age?
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I was one of those kids that hated every moment of it. My mom worked at the neighborhood association at the time, and she's like, "Oh, we're gonna go mow the lawn for some seniors. Oh, we're gonna go paint some graffiti. Oh, we're gonna go clean up the alleyways. Oh, we're gonna go read to some kids at the library." My mom was a big kind of point to that volunteerism. She made me do it, and I complained probably every time. Um, and now as an adult, just kind of recognizing how some of those actual things, all this time to present, how important they were. Those are some really great memories that I now have as an adult, and I'm so glad she dragged me and that I hated it. Um, because now those are things that I really love to do. I still I go, those neighborhood cleanups I go still do. In the summer, I'll go mow a lawn for one of our senior neighbors. I'll read for a kindergarten class. I never thought the things that I kind of grew up not liking were things that I had loved so much as an adult.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And hopefully young people, you'll hear, even if your parents are dragging you or your teachers are making you do it, hopefully you'll see the value and do it on your own. So you went off to college, and it sounds like that for you, you probably didn't have a lot of career development assistance to help you figure out who you were, what your natural skills and talents were, to really identify some of those potential college or potential occupations that you would need to go to college for, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of thought you'd be a doctor, chemistry kicks your butt, and then you were thinking chef. Did you end up graduating from college then, or did your education path take a turn then?
It took a turn. It was my senior year of college, and my mom got ill. And so, being the oldest, again, my mom being a single parent, I had to step away from kind of my college journey and come home and take care of our family. Um, Thinking even still now, a lot of the time I think about like, oh, I could go back, I can finish that last year, I can do it. And so I struggle with that now, all these years later, of like, okay, why, what's the purpose? Um, it's really important. Let me just like straight out say that, of like, our education system is really wonderful. I've met some of my favorite adults are our past teachers. I have so many great experiences with professors and teachers when I was a younger kid, and they're the ones that were mentors throughout me growing up and becoming the adult I am. But something about the college experience and my identity as a person of color, there was just this disconnect of what kind of support systems I had or didn't have. um, Again, I didn't go to college right away. I sometimes think maybe there's like a cultural piece of like, well, my mom didn't have to do it, and in a lot of ways we survived. I think to your like point of kind of finding my self identity was a piece of that. Whether I wanted to be a doctor or a chef or a firefighter or whatever other crazy idea I had at the time, was things that I think I saw on TV that said I needed to be these fancy things or what people view as fancy. And I didn't know what I wanted to be for myself because I hadn't explored all the different things that I think y'all are exploring during these chats. So I'm really grateful that I could be here with y'all and talk about my own role here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so let's dig into that. So you started work at the food pantry again. It was a connection, networking, which I've been trying to help the young people understand. That's how people get jobs. It's networking. So you took this job that someone had referred you off to. You did it for 5 years, and you again built a good support system around you. And then your career started evolving. And here you are, a COO, a director, now a CEO without that college degree. So it's so great for young people to hear too how on the job experiences and demonstrating who you are and your skills can make a career too. So this is fantastic. So help us understand after that food pantry, then how did you then get into more of this arts field that you are now?
yeah, that was a really interesting journey. Food and art to me are really closely related. Food is really, really beautiful. I hope some of y'all like to grow your own food, and we can talk offline sometime and chat about growing. But there's so many amazing colors, the science behind growing. Thinking of like a really, really beautiful salad of like, it's not just iceberg lettuce. You can get, romaine and kale and collards and herbs like cilantro and parsley. And there's so many things to experiment around that provides this like aspect of creativity that isn't your usual kind of like art form, like painting and music. And I think that's what really kind of from kind of a food pantry space to now being Chief Operating Officer or COO at Grandville Avenue Arts and Humanities. I never imagined that I'd feel so lucky or be so lucky to get this role because of a lot, I started at a food pantry. I ended up in Rockford, creating some farmers markets across the county. Now there's 10 of them through that effort. I did some contract work for New City, Neighbors, and Kids Food Basket to do their farming initiatives. And that led me to really kind of think back of those times that my mom dragged me in neighborhood and really love my work in community. I think that's kind of been my grounding work of like how I want my relationship to be with neighbors or people I have to interact with. So after being at the food pantry and then working in Rockford, I ended up back here in Grand Rapids on the west side, doing some community engagement work. And it was really awesome. It really solidified what I wanted as a career around like who my neighbors are and what community means to me. I didn't say this in my introduction, but I had mentioned my mom being a single parent. If it wasn't for my neighbors or community, I don't know if we would have stayed in Grand Rapids. We're originally from Chicago. We moved a lot, like a lot. I think by the time I was 30, we moved like 27 times. And again, if it wasn't for our neighbors or those mentors and folks who like took time to see me, I don't know if I would still be here in the same way that I am. And I think kind of shifting now to being here at Granville Avenue Arts and Humanities. I grew up in the programs. So again, I'm in Roosevelt Park. I'm currently sitting in our library, and I'm going to take you on a tour here in a second. But I was here every day when I was a kid. Right before high school, my junior and senior year, I was here every day because it was a safe place that I could just like be what felt like a place I could be for myself. Whether I was reading a book a day or if I could play. Okay, I'm a really big nerd. I really like comic books. I used to like Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I'd play with the kids, and it was a place I could just explore and be a kid, I guess, and not have to deal with the stuff I was dealing with at home, being the oldest, and again having a single mother. So I'd love to give you all a tour if that's okay.
One question, did you get recruited then to start working there? Because here you were this presence as a student, and then how did you make that transition then from this Rockford opportunity into there? Did they seek you out because they had seen you develop these skills then and like, hey,
yeah. Yeah, so when I was in Rockford, I was having a conversation with the executive director on the west side for this community engagement job, and they're like, we've been watching you, you're doing all this awesome work with community, and have you ever thought about doing community engagement work? And I was like, I don't know what that means. I'm just doing what feels right to me. And those right things, I never had the right words for it. I just want to be a good neighbor. I just want to be a good human. And for him to say you could be something that I never thought I could be was really powerful. Especially thinking too, like I was still kind of early on in my career that I didn't fully understand or think about like my worth. I just knew I needed to do something different. So I was exploring all of these different journeys and going through all these trainings. But he saw something really special in me that again, I don't know if I would be sitting in this spot if it wasn't for these kind of key moments in my career. And so we had a few different coffees, and he's like, you just got to work here with us. I've been watching you. I know you. What I know of you is amazing. And I was like, I don't know if I trust myself, but I'd want to try. Like, it's not going to hurt to try. It's not hurt gonna try, and why not?
Because we, as human beings, we get what's called an imposter syndrome. Like, do I have what it takes? And young people, you may not have heard that term yet, but I want to put it out there because it's something that all humans experience. So I want you to know that's normal when you will feel it someday. So it's when you have an opportunity and you're like, do I really know this? They think I know more than I really do know. And you feel like you have to fake it to make it. And that's what you do have to do. But it's normal feeling because you're always going to be in that beginning stage of a work. So you're not going to know everything. You have to learn. So tell us about that experience when you got this offer. You're like, wait a minute, can I do this? Did you have those thoughts?
Oh man, I feel like imposter syndrome is something I think about every day now of like, am I good enough? Can I complete this? But I was like, they're seeing that magicalness that each of us have, but they're really like seeing me and maybe even seeing things that I'm obviously not seeing because of that imposter syndrome. My first day, I was like, okay, what feels right? There isn't a playbook for this work. It's just doing it. And I remember talking to a neighbor and he's like, you know what, Eleanor, you're all right. You're all right in my book. And I was like, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe this is the moment I needed, or, the little kick in the butt. Yeah, it was just really, really great. So I was there for 3 years. And it was like the most magical time of like, my job for community engagement was literally to have coffee with neighbors, and
That's
just get
awesome.
to know them, and that whoever thought that could be a job, whoever thought I
Right.
could get paid to have coffee with people and hear their story, and then be able to connect them with other resources that I had access to. um, I think the other piece of that too, from like a neighbor standpoint or a community member standpoint, is I think from like the nonprofit side too, that we often don't have can give that kind of time and opportunity to our clients or to our neighbors, because usually it's really transactional of like, hey, come do this class, come do this thing, and yeah, we'll learn your name, but we can't always give a half day of just chatting and getting to know someone. And there's this like sense of humanity that often gets missed in our work, especially in the nonprofit side, because we're trying to solve the issues, but sometimes we just want to build that human connection or build that relationship.
Yeah, and I think it's so great that young people are learning about that term, community engagement, and because I think that's going to resonate with some young people who watch this, who really do want that human connection. And also, I want young people to understand that in the corporate world, there's some arms of companies that are more their philanthropy end where they do community engagement as part of a corporation. So if you like what you're hearing from Eleanor and you think, man, I would like to be in this Fortune 500 company, there are opportunities for those to merge. So I just wanted to, again, help you expand what's out there, that this can be done in the nonprofit world and local, but also in really big companies, and even probably medium-sized companies. So yeah, go ahead and pull up your, if you want to give them a tour. I do want you to share, as you're touring or after, they'd like to know, like, what's your favorite part of your job? And then what kind of causes you stress, Eleanor?
Okay, I'm gonna tour and answer your question all
Yep,
the time.
that's great.
I'll put
Thank
my
you.
mask on real quick because we have kids in the building, and maybe yell at me if you can't see what I'm seeing.
Yep, and I'll just do a time check. It's already 10 to 4, if you can believe it.
Oh wow, that time really does.
I knew it would.
Okay.
Because I know not all jobs are rosy.
So I don't know if you can see here, but there's these plastic dividers that we put up because of the pandemic. Um, I don't know if you can see it. Like
Yeah, we can see the plastic sheeting.
yeah,
Yes.
So our library is set up as a kind of drop-in center for our kids in the neighborhood, and so folks can um, come get books, and then there's this kind of classroom style in this room. The kids are currently outside, so they come right after school and do some homework help, do some fun activities, and then they'll be here until about 7.
Because I wanted to point out that that's a whole field too, right? Youth development,
Yeah.
that people could get degrees in or get expertise in, just how to work with youth.
Mm-hmm. I think the cool part about our team too is that we have uh, a library, a book curator. None of our staff have higher education. I lied. One staff has a psychology degree, but she's the one that runs all our programming. Um, so if you're thinking of like wanting to volunteer and just come and check out, I wish I could see you, show you all my art, the art building, but we're always looking for volunteers all the time to do all kinds of things.
Give a few examples just to pique their interest, where, because this is a great, not only will they learn skills about themselves, but they're going to be able to have something for a resume. They're going to meet people, which will be part of their network. Now there's so many great things of volunteering, but give them just a few ideas of where you have some needs.
Yeah, so really fun stuff. So this summer we're actually going to be releasing our summer clubs. So think like an anime club, a book club, a board game club, and we're always looking for volunteers to come partner with our kids to teach them either a new game or to support us to participate in, you know, whatever one of those activities. Those clubs are going to be really, really exciting. Every year for the last couple of years, we've had a soccer club that turns into this kind of big, wide, like neighborhood event where the students want to go against all of the adults in the neighborhood. And over the years, it's just kind of grown and grown that now we play with a couple of the big names in the community. If you're an avid soccer player or really like to be outside, there isn't a sign up sheet yet, but Chris is going to make sure that y'all have my email. So please reach out. In the art center, we have a summer arts learning camp that runs for 4 weeks. So think of music classes, art classes, pottery classes, drawing classes. We're always looking for a volunteer in that place. And then that last Thursday of every week, we'll go on a field trip. This year, we're going to go on a hike at the Blandford Nature Center. We're going to do like a day trip camping, a day trip like camping, like so everyone learns how to do a tent. A lot of our kids haven't. I think the cool thing about the art center is just to create experiences. I don't know what school all y'all go to, but our kids don't get a lot of that. They don't ever get to play with clay. They don't ever have time. You know, there's not a lot of money invested into arts anymore in school, sadly. And so for us, it's just really kind of trying to create one-time experiences. They're actually learning to play board games to make their own board game in today's class. So again,
that's
always
super fun.
for volunteer.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely, you guys, I'll give you Eleanor's email definitely in my slide as we head out. But again, it's Grandville Avenue Arts and Humanities. So if you want to Google that, that's what you'd be looking for. Just with our last kind of 2 minutes before I give them some other resources, Eleanor, what kind of qualities do you think make a good director, now CEO? What kind of, because I want kids to start to think about themselves like, oh yeah, I'm good at that, or that probably doesn't fit me so much. What are some of those qualities that you have naturally that are making you so good at what you do?
Y'all, I'm going to give you guys a buzzword. So there's this thing called human-centered design. WMCAT does it. There's a training on like human-centered design, and a big part of that is thinking about the end user. So end user is usually maybe a good definition would be like the person who's like most likely going to be using it. They always say like an 8 to 80. So thinking about like an 8-year-old to an 80-year-old, and creating opportunities for folks within that range. I think thinking about human-centered design and thinking about that like end user of like how do we ground ourselves or root ourselves in like building relationships with people. Like relationships are such a big key, at least to me, in the way that I've like made it to my role of like wanting to build relationships with people and just seeing people as people, because you never know how Evan, I'm going to meet you, Evan, one day, and we're going to be really good friends. You never know where that relationship's going to take you, whether that's today, tomorrow, or 6 years from now. It just build a lot of relationships, meet people, and get out that comfort zone.
It's so important. Life is so much richer that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you have gotten to this success of being the CEO now, and if we were to take your mom's illness that forced you out of college financially. Knowing what you know now, Eleanor, if you could do it all over again, is there a degree that you think you would have liked to gotten or that would help you with what you're doing now?
Oh man, that's such a hard question. Oh, there's so many awesome ones. Um, uh, um, I don't know if there's the right degree. I don't, I really wish I could say there was, but I don't know if there's the right degree. I think it's trying, just being able to try and put yourself in different opportunities. Uh, if we had more time, I'd tell you all the crazy things I've done. I have a medical assistance degree. I have a diversity, equity, and inclusion certification. I've put myself and tried a whole bunch of things, trying to find the right thing for me. And I think that's all I can tell each and every one of you is try a whole bunch of things. And I wish I was 20 years younger and was told the same thing and try a whole bunch of things because again, I wanted to be a doctor and then a chef and now I'm a COO. And I never thought I'd get here.
Well, I think that's what's beautiful about your story, Eleanor, is that, you know, I want these young people to understand it's a journey, that there is not one thing you must do now to get to A to B to C, that it's a journey. And yes, if you keep staying curious and listening to people who are pouring into you, those mentor people, like you'll find a path to things that you enjoy. And I love that you're just a beautiful example of that, that it wasn't just that first degree that you ended up going, chemistry, now my whole life's over because now I'm not gonna be a doctor. I don't know what to do. You know, and I'm sure there were those times of angst, but that you kept moving forward and, you know, trying new things and taking recommendations. And you've given some really great words of wisdom right there, but I'm gonna show them a resource so you can think about any other final word here before we finish up, because it always goes so fast. You guys, I know I've shared this before, but again, onetonline.org, you could put in something like community engagement, see what kind of things pop up. Being put in nonprofits, start to just explore what's out there. This is Eleanor's email. So it's emoreno at Grandville Arts Avenue Humanities. No, I lost track of GAAH.org. And
Yeah,
she's happy that.
Yeah, please feel free to email me, even if it's just a chat for 5 minutes. Happily would do that to anyone.
We all know she's about community engagement, you guys. She'll sit and have a cup of coffee with you. That's awesome.
True. My treat.
And then you can also Google, you know, the Grandville Avenue Arts and Humanities Center, because eventually I'm sure they'll have those volunteer opportunities or those camp opportunities on there, right?
Yep.
I'll just go put my email again for anyone who needs to follow up. If you're new to Career Chats, that's my email, kristaharmon@kentisd.org. And again, I can always help pass on her email or other resources too. So you've been awesome. This has been great to hear your story. And again, that there's just not one way and that you are smart and your smartness has got you to where you are. All that reading and connecting. So what would you like to say to these young people as you finish off your time?
Take me up on that cup of coffee or tea or soda. Yeah, y'all should. If anyone else has left their email, you should reach out to them, even if it's just for 5 minutes.
I don't know if the young people have listened. I know somebody called one of our mentors, which was great, but this is gold, you guys. This is gold. To have adults share their story and offer for you to have coffee with them, it's gold. So step out of your comfort zone, send that email, and do a little Zoom conversation if you're not comfortable getting in person, or meet for coffee. But just hear their story. Let them be an encouragement to you as well. So Eleanor, it's been fantastic. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing with these young people as they figure out where they want to be going after high school.
Good luck, everyone.